So I do have a few slides that I'm going to share for the basic information, and because we're a small group and it's easy to do, I'll share the slides, we'll kind of go through it, and then we'll come back together, we can ask questions, and I'll try to break these concepts or these ideas down really into examples as well, that you can kind of see how that might work, the concepts would work for a donor. So Ellie, I think, has enabled me to share screen, so I'm going to jump into the presentation here. Gonna share screen here. Can everyone see my screen? Great. Perfect. So you might have to move the little tiles around to get the end, you might be cut off on the ends, but in general, so legacy funds are a great tool for individuals and families to be able to articulate and share how they want their charitable giving to be fulfilled after their lifetimes. And so donors establish a legacy fund to receive assets from a will or trust or retirement assets. And then they personally communicate with us about their charitable intents and how their charitable intent and how they want those funds to be used. So you can think about these funds as really a holding place, right? The donor gets to establish the fund during their living years, and we will work with them to talk about what their charitable interests are, how they want to establish the fund, what they want the fund to do, right? Because donors have the ability to choose select nonprofits to benefit from their fund if they want, but they can also have it be regarding a field of interest. And so this name down here is the Jones Family Endowed Fund for Literacy. So we would be working with the donors to understand, when you say literacy, what does that mean to you? What do you want your fund to support? And remember, this is a conversation that we're able to have now, but that we would be fulfilling on the donor's behalf after their passing. So, so we're able to really continue on their legacy of giving. So this is an example of a fund, potentially a literacy fund, that we would be administering. So grants from this fund would go to support literacy work in Johnson County. So nonprofits would apply for funding, or we would select applications from our regular granting pool that would align with what this fund's intentions would be. Whoops. There we go. So these funds are personal. Like I said, we work closely with the donors, but the funds allow the donors to make a long-term impact on causes and communities that are important to them. And they'll continue to be able to support selected organizations to carry out their missions long into the future. So the intent with these funds is, the donors have been charitable to specific organizations or causes during their living years, and this is a way for them to continue on that work through permanent funds at the Community Foundation. And when these funds are established, so the named fund is recognized as a permanent fund of the Community Foundation, really kind of under the category more of a legacy society. We understand that this is sort of a shell. It's a waiting fund, waiting for assets at the time of a donor's passing, but we immediately want to recognize it as a contribution to the community by the donors establishing these funds. And these funds are really flexible. So the Legacy Fund offers the opportunity to ensure that charitable giving is part of an estate plan. And it allows the donor to be able to plan the support that they want to see happening in the future. My slide is cut off, so I'm not able to see all of that. So I gotta grab my little slides here. And so since you name the legacy fund in a will or estate, and you can donors can also establish the community foundation as a beneficiary to receive funds that we would then put into distribute through the legacy funds. You'll work with us potentially to be able to adjust your charitable interests over time. So you can easily change the causes that your legacy fund will support without modifying your will. So I'm going to take a pause here and just explain that a little bit further. So when a donor establishes a legacy fund with us, it really is not, it's just direction in how assets should be distributed. So during a donor's lifetime, they can come in and establish a legacy fund with us and say they want to support literacy, but they can change that over time. It's only after the donor has passed that there isn't someone to provide additional direction to the fund, that whatever the final version of the legacy fund is would be permanent, would be final. And so if you think about a donor who establishes charitable giving plans within a will or a trust, you know, the amendment to that involves an attorney, involves, you know, some other work. But in this scenario, if a donor said through their will, I wish to give $250,000 of assets to the community foundation for my legacy funds, and they could even list the name of their legacy fund, the donor can still work with us over their lifetime to make adjustments to what those legacy funds do. And that's an adjustment on our end without them having to go through an attorney to make those adjustments. So does that make sense how that might work? Perfect. And let's see, did I get all? I did, I got all that. There are also an efficient way of giving. So the Community Foundation, our organization, for all of the funds that we hold, not just for legacy funds, but we can easily receive a variety of assets that would go to fund the legacy fund when the time should come. And those assets can obviously be assets that have been named and established through a will or trust. The Community Foundation can be named as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy as well. Individual retirement accounts, so a donor can now go into, say they have a TIAA CREF retirement account, for example. They can go in and name the Community Foundation as a beneficiary, either as a whole amount or as a percent. And then at the time that the donor passes, the distribution to the beneficiaries would come to the Community Foundation. So we would receive one lump sum payment, and then we would then refer to those legacy funds on how those monies should be broken up to fund each legacy fund, if that makes sense. Also, we can handle more complex types of gifts, so transactions of real estate. And in that scenario, the donor would gift the real estate to the Community Foundation, which we would then sell to fund their legacy funds. So in that transaction, the sale doesn't happen by the donor, the sale happens by the Community Foundation. And then also opportunities for charitable gift annuities and charitable remainder trust. These charitable gifting options give donors the flexibility to maybe leave income in annuity payments to a spouse or to another loved one. And then after that spouse passes, anything that's remaining, whatever is the remainder, would be the charitable contribution to their legacy fund. And also a cornerstone of our work here at the Community Foundation is that we are a team here to assist donors to establish their legacy funds to meet their financial, often from a tax advantage perspective in regards to charitable giving and their charitable giving goals. So we'll work right alongside the donor and any professional advisors that they have that they would want to bring along. To kind of create that charitable giving plan that they would like to see. The Community Foundation never charges a fee for any of that gift planning services. So no hourly, as long as it takes for everyone to get on the same page and help a donor make charitable giving plans, we are on board with. And likewise, when a legacy fund is established, there is no fee for that establishment of the fund. The only time the administrative fee on our work to administer those funds is when the monies actually come into the Community Foundation, and we begin doing that. So things to consider if you want to consider a legacy fund, if you are considering the following items. And I'll flip over because I can't quite see all my screen, so I apologize for that. So if you want to personally communicate your charitable legacy and how that will forever benefit the causes and communities that you care about. So I'll add an anecdotal situation. We, through my work with community foundations, we sometimes learn about gifts that donors have established through their wills or trusts that come to the Community Foundation that we did not know about in advance. And while, of course, that is a wonderful way of giving, they're still a little bit lost because we take such pride in knowing what the donor's wishes are, learning about them, why they chose to give the way that they give. I'm sure there's a story there. And so being able to establish these legacy funds allows us, I think, to better serve the donor and give them reassurance that we will fulfill their charitable wishes. And so it also, for the donor that would appreciate having flexibility, again, I talked a little bit about the flexibility that we would have in terms of rearranging the organizations or the giving structure within a legacy fund. So that would be a great thing. And then for those who also, they want to seek the development of a plan, of a strategy. So seek to create that personalized plan for giving, that we are going to fulfill after their lifetime. And that can be, whether it's a one-time distribution, so when the assets transfer to us for the legacy fund, whether that's a one-time gift that we're facilitating, to a charity through a fund, or establishing an endowment fund that provides sustainable support either to the community or to a specific nonprofit organization. And we can also create a legacy of giving for a family through this type of giving as well, through donor advised funds. And donor advised funds can allow for a successor generation. So it's a way to have the next generation of family members involved in giving as well. So just a couple quick thoughts as I wrap up my slides before we come back together as a group, or just some additional added benefits of working with the Community Foundation and having a legacy fund. You, as a fund holder, all of our fund holders, you have a professional team who is dedicated to ensuring that your charitable intent and wishes are always honored. From expert financial management through grant making expertise, all of that work is always overseen by the Community Foundation's board of directors. So when we think about giving now, think about today's pandemic, right? We didn't see that coming, and nor did people 20 years ago see this coming potentially. But working with the Community Foundation allows for donors to have a giving tool that meets their needs for giving now, but also is flexible enough to meet those needs that we didn't know were coming, but could really use community support. So kind of bullet one and bullet two I sort of put together. So there will always be a Community Foundation's board of directors. So now, 25 years from now, 50 years from now, who is entrusted in ensuring that a donor's intentions are always fulfilled through, whatever language we put into their fund agreement. And we take great pride in being connected here in Johnson County, working closely with nonprofit organizations, connecting with them in different ways so that, one, we can have a relationship. You know, we can have a relationship with nonprofits such that we pick up the phone, and when there's times of need, we can quickly get processes and programs and needs into action. So you have that sort of connection with the work in the community. And that flexibility to be able to address those important needs. And as with all of the legacy funds that are established, there are still ways for longer term giving, like through the legacy fund, to be established, but have opportunities for some of that charitable work to be happening in a donor's giving years. And I can give you an example. So there may be a donor. Let's use that example that I shared earlier with the name of the fund, which was the Jones Family Endowment for Literacy. That's a type of fund that could be established during a donor's living years. They can give, oftentimes it might be a situation where their capacity for giving a larger gift really does happen after death, but they might be able to start a fund now. And by starting the fund now and having it start to be active and make grants towards literacy, working with the community foundation, they can actually see during their living years what that fund will look like, how the work will happen, and how we anticipate it continuing on in the future. So it could be a nice way to make a blended gift. Gifts to support work now, plus have plans, so either through a will or estate, to name that endowment fund that they've created to receive those assets after a donor passes. And so the work would continue just with a greater capacity to grant because additional funds have come into it. So giving now and plans for giving later. So that is sort of the end of my official slides. My email address is on here, so it's shelley@cfjc.org. I'm going to end the slide share. But I'd just like to sort of wrap that piece up and allow any of you to answer, ask any questions that you might have. And Shirley and Ellie, if there are any additional pieces that you would like to add to the ramblings that I have just provided, please do.
I do not have anything big to add, but there is a question for you in the chat from Delita. I don't know if she wants to vocalize that one or if you just want to read it and then answer.
So the question is, so if it's real estate, does the property have to be fully owned, i.e. no mortgage? Can the transaction happen if the balance is outstanding? Yes. So the asset would need to be an asset that the donor can gift free and clear. And it would be because our intention is to immediately sell the asset because we want that fund to start working right away. So in order to have that happen, to have cash in hand for it to start working, we would need to sell. That's a great question. And it would need to have a clear sort of bill of sale situation, so to speak.
Shelley, I am actually based in Johnston with ChildServe. We have
oh yeah,
yeah,
right.
So relatively new in that part of the state. The Community Foundation of Greater Des Moines is also a wonderful partner to us, and we have a couple, let's see, I think probably 3 or 4 donors who are in our Legacy Society, and they have done this exact thing with the Des Moines Community Foundation, where they've set up a legacy fund, and then they're supporting several local charities. So they've notified us that they're playing within the plan. So
great.
Yeah,
And Colleen, and you actually bring up a great point. Isn't it wonderful for your organization to know that there is a planned gift in the pipeline, right? Mm-hmm. And also to be able to thank a donor for wanting to leave their legacy to help your organization move forward. I think it's so wonderful. So anytime I can encourage donors when they talk about ways to give or just general giving strategies, you know, I always am a supporter of encouraging them to make their plans known. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so in your experience, have any of those come to fruition? A less articulate way of saying that, have any donors passed that you would receive those assets?
You know, our plan giving program is small, but we have been receiving realized plan gifts. You know, Shelley, I'm not sure if any of those. I can also use the new card. I started in early August. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No worries. I was just, if I was just hoping that, you know, if anyone had a scenario where they saw the process work from, you know, concept to having the fund, you know, to actually the money's actually flowing to the nonprofit organization. Our intent is to have it be as seamless and easy of a process for the donors as well as their loved ones, right, who are left to kind of tie up any loose ends that their loved one had, and then facilitating those gifts to the nonprofit organizations. It always takes a little time, you know, for all that to kind of come together, but it's such a great way.
Yeah. Well, one really neat thing, I know at least one of the donor households has actually given us the pages of their agreement with the Community Foundation of Des Moines. So it's spelled out. This one happens to be an amount instead of a percentage. It's very clearly spelled out. So we are all on the same page. So
that's
pretty easy.
That's great. And we do, exactly the same thing. So for every legacy fund that we establish, we create a file for it. And it's just kind of sitting there waiting to be, I kind of think about it as like an engagement, right? It's like, it's almost the marriage, but it's already, and there's a, you know, promise there for kind of, you know, the charitable giving work that wants to happen, but
So hopefully we'll have the opportunity to work together in Eastern Iowa.
Yes, for sure. Well, we're really just kind of ramping up our kind of legacy charitable giving program. We recently had a donor who did name the Community Foundation as a beneficiary of some retirement assets. And so that lump sum, which will come to the Community Foundation, will be distributed between 11 legacy funds that they are establishing to benefit everything from their, you know, alumni from a college to nonprofit organizations, even their churches involved. So it was a fun process to work through with them regarding their wishes. And they just now, and also the donors also felt reassured that there was a clear plan and that they had people on their end, on their side, so to speak, to help fulfill their charitable giving wishes. And it also, frankly, kind of took that burden of understanding what their wishes were away from their children. They didn't want to burden their children with their giving, so they wanted to have a plan sort of in place with how they wanted to see their gifting go. So that was a great process. Well, as I mentioned, my email's there and our phone number, of course. You can reach us anytime you have any questions. And you can do us a couple great favors for participating today. I want to make sure, one, that you make sure you like our Facebook page. We try to share information as much as we can about not only things happening in the Community Foundation, but within the good work happening within Johnson County and our other nonprofit organizations as well. And then if you haven't registered already, on Friday is our 20th anniversary celebration. And I'm so excited that we're welcoming Joan Gary as our speaker. If there are any silver linings in COVID, it is that Joan Gary now is offering, on a very limited capacity, some virtual engagements. I mean, she is, from a cost-wise, she would be on a level that, you know, really like the Association of Fundraising Professionals, you know, as a national organization would pay to have come. But we get to get her on a much smaller scale, and she's just has such a heart right now for, you know, the communities that are trying so hard, and has an uplifting message. So if you haven't registered already, please do. Also on our website, our new annual report has just been hot off the presses. So if you received the Quarter Business Journal, it was an insert in yesterday's journal, but it is available. If you go on to, like, just go on our homepage, we have a slider. You can kind of click through the sliders, and then you'll get access to a link to the digital copy of our annual report. It is there. So with that, I think I touched on all the important parts that Ellie would want to make sure that I mention. Great, and we can't thank you enough for your time. Please spread the word of the Community Foundation. Our goal and joy is to be helpful contributors to charitable giving in Johnson County, and we're eager to be helpful any way we can. Great. All right, well, enjoy the rest of your lunch hour. I won't tell anyone you have 30 more minutes if you